Fear Itself, Hulk vs. Dracula Explored. Fear Itself is a 2011 Marvel Comics crossover event that consists of a prequel book, Fear Itself, Book of the Skull. It's by artist Scott Eaton and author Ed Brubaker. It's a 7-issue ostensible television series illustrated by Stuart Immonen, Laura Martin, and Wade Von Grawbadger, and it's authored by Matt Fraction and has countless tie-in books, such as the majority of the X-Men family of books. Despite being a crossover including all of Marvel, the main focus of the event is on Thor and Captain America. In Fear Itself, all of the chosen worthy are taken over by Thor-like hammers, symbolizing Odin's greatest failure. The Marvel Universe definitely gets the short end of the stick on this one, with deaths of a number of well-known characters lasting at least 12 seconds at a time. Fear has taken over the entire Earth, and anarchy is the only state. The Serpent, the oldest evil in Asgard, has awakened and is preying on people's fear on Earth. Villains and heroes who have avoided the global panic are the only ones holding the key to saving our planet. Will their efforts to defeat the gods be successful, given that Odin is determined to sacrifice Earth? How can they, or you, overcome fear itself? We shall find out in this video today. But of course, before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request from you. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a very small click for you, but for us, it means a whole heck of a lot. So thank you, and let's begin. Hulk vs. Dracula. This narrative takes place after the occurrences of Fear Itself, issue number 5. The Hammer of Null has taken control of the Hulk, transforming him into a terrifying and enraged monster. The Hulk crash lands in Romania while flying across the planet, much to the horror of the inhabitants. He then starts tearing through the woodlands close to the Carpathians. The Krager garrison, an elite group of vampires tasked with guarding the castle Dracula, are drawn to his path of devastation. In an effort to convince the Gamma-spawned monster that the vampire nation has no beef with and would provide him safe passage across their territory as long as he does not damage Dracula's subjects, the leading officer on spot believes he can negotiate with the Hulk. Probably not a good idea. The Hulk answers by using his hammer to smash the vampire's head off. The Hulk starts destroying the fortress as the troops start firing back. Captain Luna, who is nearby, sees all of this chaos and sends Dracula a video feed of it. The Lord of the Vampires determines that despite the massacre of his men, they have provided him with crucial knowledge, and that the Hulk would not budge. Janus gives his father information about the Hulk as Legate starts to gather his men to fight back. He reveals that the Hulk and other metahumans have been on an apparently random course of destruction throughout the entire Earth since the magical hammers further enhanced them, and no one has ever been able to contain them yet. Dracula commands his minions to concentrate their efforts on finding a way to defeat the Hulk. Dracula intends to use every weapon at their disposal in hopes of uncovering a vulnerability given the distance between them and the castle. First, the Hulk is challenged by a bunch of Charni Putra. These gargoyle-like monsters have the benefit of flight, but the null-enhanced Hulk still effortlessly dispatches them despite their superior flying ability. Luna the captain says, of course, that the animals have failed. The Hulk sees the location of Luna and starts throwing pebbles at her jet, doing enough damage to cause it to crash. Dracula reviews the data at the castle and is unimpressed to learn about the Hulk's strength being more potent than usual at best, according to his technicians. The Forgiven, a group of renegade vampires led by Reizo Kodo, unexpectedly barge into his quarters. Dracula instructs his henchmen to stand down, when he realizes that Reizo has arrived to fight alongside these exiles. However, Dracula commands them to the dungeons and says that Kodo and his supporters should be delivered a little message about who's truly in power. Dracula remains unmoved despite Kodo's insistence that this is all needless, and the Forgiven voluntarily consent to be imprisoned. Although Visigoth of the Forgiven objects, his comrade Inca advises him to remain calm. Visigoth and Inca wonder why they permitted themselves to be confined when they might just simply escape down into the dungeon. For their leader, Sanjay justifies it by telling Visigoth that their imprisonment is just the start of a long process of talks with Dracula. Janus informs his father that, given the current circumstances, a partnership with Reizo Kodo could be wise, but Dracula of course would not hear any of it. When the Hulk is vanquished, Dracula will handle Rezo. In order to combat the Hulk, Dracula sends a group of bombers to deploy a monstrous army. As we read in Volume 1, the Hulk, controlled by the Hammer of Null, has been wreaking havoc in Romania's Carpathian Mountains, and the local vampire nation and the Hulk are now at odds with one another as a result of this. After the Hulk rammed her spacecraft, Captain Luna drags herself from the debris so she can keep updating the world and the battlefield. Dracula has sent out a monster assault force in an effort to prevent the Hulk. However, because of his increased strength, he effortlessly smashes through them. Dracula, alongside with his son Janus, are watching the war from the chamber in Castle Dracula where they both reside. Dracula commands them to find a way to stop the Hulk or else they will all be destroyed. Janus informs his dad that the final monster was slain in less than 20 minutes, which was way shorter than Dracula had planned for while assembling his forces. Janus drags his father away and begs him, please release Rezo Kodo so that he, along with his Forgiven, can fight the Hulk. The Lord of the Vampires finally gives in and releases Rezo and his supporters after a little hesitation. When Kodo escapes the dungeon, he starts to search for whatever information he could find about the Hulk. He quickly becomes aware of the enchanted hammers that are currently destabilizing the whole planet Earth. Kodo deduces that the hammers were constructed specifically for each user since they did not trigger until the bearer touches them. He is confident that his Forgiven will keep the Hulk preoccupied while they look for a way to halt him. Rezo's attachment to his people worries Dracula, who mocks it. The Forgiven are subsequently sent to Pasnik, a little settlement not far from Castle Dracula. In order to give her and Visigoth some time, Night Eyes instructs Quickshot, Inca, and Ghostblade to evacuate the locals. The Hulk flies right by the two vampires as he arrives, not even realizing that they were actually there. Inca frightens the villagers into running away as the others attempt to get them out as soon as possible. They quickly discover that a pastor is stranded inside of a burning church. Quickshot dives in despite the threat to himself and saves the pastor before the holy earth can consume him. The Hulk encounters a couple escaping in their automobile not far away. Visigoth intervenes between the Hulk and them to protect them from being hurt. Visigoth, however, is quickly swept aside and buried beneath the dilapidated church. Legate is annoyed about Rezo Kodo's reviewing the same information that they just looked at while they were still in Castle Dracula. Kodo breaks one of Legate's fingers because of his continual complaints. The Lord of the Vampires can care less about Legate's complaints to Dracula. Night Eyes is the last Forgiven member left, and she must fight the Hulk in the settlement of Pasnik. She outruns the Hulk in speed and agility, but he is still able to grasp her and throw her into a structure. Sanjay swiftly joins her and uses the Hulk's power to turn invisible in an effort to divert him. But when the Hulk learns that he can't physically attack his foe, he uses his enormous lungs to drive Sanjay away. Rezo Kodo meditates before the vampires have gathered the knowledge about the Hulk back at the castle, while Legate, Janus, and Dracula start strategizing what to do next. The Forgiven, a group of vampires led by Rezo Kodo, who the Hulk has easily defeated, are on the front lines now. Their captain promptly grabs his comrade Inca to assist with the plot after coming up with a way to halt the Hulk. In the meantime, Dracula organizes his forces in case Kodo and his minions are unsuccessful in stopping the Hulk. The other Forgiven members, who cannot stand up to the Hulk, decide to retreat before being totally obliterated. The Lord of the Vampires issues the command for his troops to start mobilizing now. With the army prepared and the weapons created from adamantium, Rezo Kodo has requested them to keep the Hulk preoccupied, so they hastily get ready to return. The Hulk is reported merely pacing around at the Castle Dracula as if looking for his next victims, according to the intelligence sources. Knowing that now the Hulk is close by, Dracula intends to use Saint Sebastian as a lure to attract the Hulk in. He commands his troops to prepare for war after passing the news that perhaps the Hulk is coming for them. Then he instructs Janus, his son, to fetch his sword. During a private conversation with his son, Dracula remarks on Kodo and his Forgiven's lack of success in fighting the Hulk, and questions whether forming an alliance with them was actually a mistake. The Hulk is being drawn to St. Sebastian by the Forgiven, who are still fighting him. The Hulk appears and effortlessly destroys the initial wave. Dracula calls out to the Hulk to confront him from the fortifications of St. Sebastian. The gamma-spawned behemoth gets caught in an adamantium snare as he charges the fortress. The Hulk effortlessly smashes through the supposedly unbreakable metal and shatters the castle walls, much to the amazement of the vampires. When Kodo comes in with his plane and his weapons blazing, the Hulk has Dracula down and is ready to destroy him for good with the Hammer of Null. When the Hulk suddenly notices what looks like the red She-Hulk on board the ship, he rushes for it. The Hulk fights off the Hammer of Null's grip and smashes it in his arms after encountering a lady who looks to be his wife. She commands the Hulk to halt and transforms back into Betty Ross. When he transforms back into Bruce Banner, he realizes that Betty was indeed the shape-shifting Inca. Dracula is enraged and attempts to murder Banner, but Banner transforms again into his natural form, the Hulk, to protect himself. The Hulk informs Dracula that if he had not spared millions of lives, he would have destroyed him, and then leaps away after realizing that his spouse was nowhere to be found. Dracula gathers the Hammer of Null's remnants after the conflict is ended. Kodo instructs his Forgiven to be ready to break into the castle Dracula and take the hammer after Dracula and his minions have left. The Forgiven are then informed by Reizo Kodo that they have been exiled from his realm, and they will perish if they do so. The Reign of Chaos. The main disadvantage of this tale is that we have previously seen it in all the other Fear Itself tie-ins. The X-Men and Thunderbolts fought Juggernaut, the Avengers fought Thing, and Alpha Flight fought Attuma, and so on and so forth. At this point, the plot is getting predictable. A hammer-wielding character shows up, smashes some stuff, and then additional serpent troops are shown on the TV screens. Finally, strategies are put into action, but they ultimately fail. Can Dracula defeat the Hulk with his enhanced abilities? It's difficult to say, but it seems unlikely given how the Hulk chopped off a vampire's head as if he were trying to tee off on a golf course. And if you enjoyed this video, share and comment below about which other series, movies, characters, or video games you would want us to explore or review. And please don't forget to subscribe to our channel to get more regular updates. And if you like our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. In the meantime, have a good one and be safe. Thanks again, everybody.